friends. Welcome to another episode of Talk with Renee Dallow. It's me, your girl, Renee Dallow, joined by the lovely and very succinctly named Molly Claire. We were just talking about this before we started. Hi, Molly. How the hell are you?
Hi, good. I'm so excited to be here and talk with your audience.
I am so excited to have you here. We were, guys, right before we pressed record, we were talking about names. And I was like, Molly Claire. And she's like, no, Claire's my last name. And I was like, because isn't it funny, as women in the world, right? Our names, like our first last name combo, is not often like our name. But you chose yours.
I did choose mine. So I gave the last name Claire is a given name by me. I was building my business while I was going through a divorce, and I actually kept my married name for a while because I wanted to have the same name as my kids. But I was building my business, right? And it's like your listeners know when you're building your business, it's like, who do I want to be, right? What is the persona? And I didn't really want to brand myself with my married name, and so it was my business name at first, and then it became my name in my personal life too. So
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So I have a wedding planning business called Moxie Bright Events. And when I named Moxie Bright, I was just recently married, like a day married, right? And everyone's like, just name it Renee Dallow Weddings. And I was like, I don't even know who she is. I can't name something after her. I just got this name.
Yeah.
Now I think it's way more well known as Renee Dallow than I ever was in my maiden name, which is just a wild turn of events. And like, life is just a funny thing sometimes.
Yes.
Well, I want to know, I want my listeners to know more about your journey. So you mentioned a bit of it there, but like, take me back to like, you're a single mom and then you started building your business, right?
Yeah. So I started my journey and my business while I was still married, actually, because I started doing my coach certification. But then as I was in the process, the early stages of building my business, I was becoming a single mom. And so it was kind of like this, your listeners know building a business, it's a thing, right? It's like it brings up a lot of emotions, a lot of fears. There are so many decisions to make. There are so many new skills to learn. So it's like you pile all of this on top of the fact that actually at the time I was still healing from chronic fatigue syndrome. I had 3 kids. My oldest at the time was 12. And I wanted to, it was like, here I was entering this space where I needed to step up as the breadwinner, figure out how to get divorced, how to be single, how to take care of my kids, how to be there for them, and overcoming these health issues while learning the business all at the same time. So, how's that
Just
for a beginning?
Yeah, just a really easy, calm season of life, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
in truth, here's the thing. It's like, I think for me, when I started my business, I was so determined to create a business that would support the needs of my kids and myself and would allow me the time, freedom, and flexibility to be with my kids. And so it's kind of like this storm of all these different pieces made it so the one thing I anchored myself in is knowing where I was going and what I was going to create with my business. And that has proved to be a really powerful thing for me because, at the end of the day, my personal life, my relationship with my kids, and my well-being, my personal life is really what I'm trying to build, right? And I feel grateful and blessed for the fact that my business is super meaningful to me too. I do meaningful work and it supports the quality of life that I want. So,
Yeah. It sounds like you had to kind of have a little mindset shift there a bit.
oh yeah. I mean, well, I'll say mindset shift after mindset shift, right? It's kind of like it's a
Hundreds of
continued
mindset
process.
shifts. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember this moment when I was in my closet in tears. I'm talking to my, soon to be ex-husband on the phone. It was a positive conversation, but he and I were talking through finances. And I just remember feeling so afraid. And I don't know how many of your listeners will relate to this, but I know all of us have a different relationship to money, right? And whether it's like fears or worries or insecurities or beliefs that we can't make as much money as a woman or whatever it is, I just remember there feeling so fearful about, can I really do this? And I remember I got off the phone with him and I don't know why I had my computer in there. It's like I remember like bits and pieces of this memory, but I had the computer and I had the phone and I was in the closet. And I just opened up my laptop and I hired the best coach that I knew that I had already talked with, and I paid her full price for the package. And it was kind of this moment where I said, my life is going to be better. It's going to be different than this. And I am investing in myself and my future right now, no matter what. And that was a pretty big deal. That decision was like claiming a mindset that I was, going to have.
I love that so much. I also love the reality and that you spoke it, that it wasn't just one mindset shift. It's like thousands of mindset shifts that happen over the course of a business. We talk about mindset a lot on this show, and the reason I talk about it so much on this show is because it is work that is never done.
That's
Right? You're
right.
never at a place where you're like, oh, my mindset, check, done, next.
Yes.
It's always evolving.
Yes. And part of the work really now in my business, because I help coaches with their coaching skills, I actually started out as a coach with mindset being really kind of the core piece of what I did with my clients.
Yeah.
And since then, over this, over my evolving process as a person, and also in supporting my clients and my coaches with their skills, I've come to learn that there's mindset and there's also emotion work that directly connects with the mindset. And then we bring our nervous system into it, right? And so there are all these different things. And so I think it's important that, like, for all of you listening, as you build your business, you're going to need to do mindset shifts. You're going to have to attend to big emotions, and you're going to need to pay attention to when your nervous system is activated and you're losing access to that prefrontal cortex, right? Your ability to think. So all this being said, I don't want to get too technical too quickly, but if it feels sometimes impossible to build your business, that is a normal feeling to experience. But don't believe it. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. It just means it feels impossible, and there are a whole bunch of ways you can support yourself in making it happen anyway.
Right. I
Yeah.
think everything feels impossible until you do it.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know that sounds so simple, and like you found it on a greeting card, but that has
Right.
been my
But
reality
it's
as well.
true.
Right? Everything
Yes.
seems like I'm never gonna finish. Like so I'm a certified coach as well, and it took me probably like 3 years to finish everything that needed to be finished.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, if you had year one, Renee was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this. Like, I
Yeah.
was just like, I have two other businesses, I got a lot. And then all of a sudden the time passes and you're like, oh, look what I did. And I think the biggest like bummer,
Mm.
understatement of the world, the biggest bummer would be not trying, right? Because you never
Yes.
know what you're capable of until you do.
Yes, yes. And I'll share another quick story, because I think this is relevant for your listeners as well, because so everyone listening here, your business, whatever it is you're endeavoring to do, it's almost like there's a version of you that you can kind of imagine at that point when you have created it. And it really requires an entire identity shift for us. And so, one of the other really pivotal moments that I remember in building my business was I had major limiting beliefs about money and how much I could make as a woman. And I say had, but let's be honest, we all have limits, and we just move the limit a little further and then we move it again and again, right? So it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I've overcome every limit. But I remember this moment again feeling very fearful about money, and I was actually talking to my coach and mentor, and I was crying, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this with these kids. And she said, "Well, why don't you just make as much money as your ex-husband did?" And I said, "Well, you have to understand, he makes a lot of money," as if that was a valid argument, right? It seemed like a valid argument to me. And I remember she just looked at me confused and she said, "So, why don't you
Right.
make as much money as he did?" And what came to my mind immediately was perhaps one of the worst thoughts I could have ever imagined coming to my mind, which was, well, I can't because I'm a woman. Like, that was what came to the surface for me. And when I
Yeah.
saw, it was like this moment in time where it was like everything was in slow motion. And I'm realizing, oh my gosh, a part of me believes that because I'm a woman, I can't make as much money as him. And
Right.
I remember at the time I saw this thought and I thought, it's unacceptable to me to continue to believe that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I made a decision. And this is where, like, all of you listening, like, I know you all have that thing that seems impossible. And this is the exact process that I did. And it really does work. I remember at the time, I said, one day I will believe that I am a person that can make, and at the time it was $250,000 a year. It was like at one point, I will believe that I am a woman who makes $250,000 a year. I'll believe it. It will be the case. It will be true. And what I did is I really set that as a goal to believe that about me and my identity. And then all along the way, it goes back to these different mindset shifts, right? All along the way, it's not like, oh, once I claimed that, I was in belief every day, every minute for the rest of my life, right? It
Right.
was more like, okay, even when I don't believe it, even when I'm terrified, even when I'm doubtful, even when I'm in this emotional spiral and I think that I might as well give up on life entirely, it's just a moment in time because one day I will believe it. And so that's where you have to commit, right? And you work on your mindset, you attend to your emotions, you take aligned action, and you stay committed to that identity you want to believe, and you will get there. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. One day I will believe. Yeah. I think too, it's like the mindset piece is like, it's like going to the gym, but for your mind.
Yes.
You have to do it you have to do it all the time. That's one of the reasons I'm such a huge, and I talk about it almost every episode now, but I don't care about, I'm a big believer in journaling because
Oh my
that's
gosh. Yes.
a way we can get out our garbage, but also talk to ourselves, you know?
Yes, yes. And it's like this reminded me of when you were talking about the gym. One of my clients, she's in my master coach training, and it's like it's so common that I teach something to my clients, right? Or your listeners here, we hear something, and then we think that we're immediately supposed to lift this 100-pound weight that someone has just told us about.
Yes,
Right? And
100%.
it's like, and so I remember this client of mine, we had talked about this concept and she was so excited, but then immediately felt discouraged that she wasn't able to just lift this weight immediately.
Right.
And we talked about this idea, like I have been for the last several months, I've been in physical therapy. I had a shoulder injury, and it's like I start with a 1 pound weight, right?
Yes.
And then I'm at a 2 pound weight. And then over
Yes.
time, and then all of a sudden I realize, wow, I'm doing these things I could never do. And I think it's the same thing. So as you're hearing these ideas, right? Or the ideas that you normally talk about with them, right? Just think about it. Just like take a little bit of it in. Just lift the 1 pound weight version. And over
Yeah.
time, all of a sudden, you'll be
All of a
there, right?
sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So Molly, it feels like you're, from what I know of your business, right? You built a pretty simple business, and I don't say that
Mm-hmm.
in a minimized way, but you built like a pretty streamlined but very profitable business. So because that is always the goal of every wedding pro,
Yes.
honestly,
Yes.
to
Yes.
build a streamlined, like workflow is a big deal for wedding pros.
Yes.
How did you ensure that all of that just like aligned with your life? Because I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman in the world who thinks that the idea of balance is a bullshit idea that the universe gave us to make us feel bad about ourselves. So I would love to know your take on it.
Okay, well, here's my take on it. I'm so excited you brought this up because I would love nothing more than for all of your listeners to really see how they can clearly create a simple business that is in support of their ideal life. And I believe that we don't have to have as much marketing and sales as we believe either. So there's
Ooh,
that, which is a nice bonus, right?
nice bonus.
So, first of all, I will just say, like, let's be clear that it's not like I've always done this perfectly and I just seem to have this like magical
Right.
ability, right? For sure.
We receive that and we agree with you. Yes.
It's sometimes a mess, right? Behind the scenes in the figuring it
Everyone
out.
is. Everyone is. Yes.
But here's what I'll say. I think the idea when we think, well, we can have it all and we can have it all this balance. I think that the problem can be with that thinking. I don't think that thinking is inherently bad, but the problem can be is that we start to believe that we're supposed to do everything, have our hands in everything, and actually build a business and a life that we think we're supposed to have rather than the one we actually want. Because
Yes.
the way I think about it in my life, it's like, yes, I can have it all, But what that means for me is it means item A, B, and C are super important to me. And I'm going to
Mhm.
decide that those go together. And items D through Z that some other people are bringing into their life, not that it's bad or wrong, those things don't matter to me. Right. And so I think the key is, and this is a simple thing that all of your listeners can do today, is like really think about those things that are the most important to you. And then realize that a lot of the other things you think you're supposed to be doing, you can cross them off the list. They're someone else's priorities, but not yours. So for me, time and connection with my kids is everything to me. At this point, so my three kids, my oldest is 21, I have a 19-year-old, and I have a 13-year-old, and I am like madly in love with every one of them. I have a great relationship with them. We love to go, hiking, jet skiing, on walks. Like we each have a personal relationship, and that's been super important to me. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things within the space of momhood that I probably was supposed to prioritize according to a magazine or my neighbor, but I didn't. Right. And I'm like, me caring about them, loving them, and connecting with them, that is important. And I will have that. So this is just one small example, right? But I think really prioritizing those two or three things that are absolutes for you and anchor yourself there is a huge key in simplifying your life and your business and not getting burned out, by the way.
Yeah, that's a big problem, I'm sure you can imagine with wedding pros, is that, we're most of us are small service-based small businesses. And so the person doing the serving is usually the owner and a small team of people. Burnout and overwhelm are the two most common, and just a crazy level of stress and cortisol levels in our
Sure.
industry. So I just love asking accomplished women, like, tell us your take on that, because you're right. Like, balance for you is not going to be balance for me, and it's all going to look very different. And I think, yeah, knowing ourselves enough to know what is the most important even if it's just for the season, right? You might have a
Yes.
season where, like, right now, my husband and I are in a season where, like, health and nutrition have to be forefront of everything we're doing. We're just in that season of life where we're like, oh, okay, we're getting older and we have to get it together. like we
Yeah.
feel we feel like that's what's important to us. Now we don't have kids, so it's easy it's different for me to say that. I know. I just, yes, 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 plus one to everything you said.
Yeah. And I think that, one thing, so this is, I'm just going to throw this out there for your stressed out wedding pros, okay?
Mm, mm,
Because one of the things that I also like work with my coaches on is understanding the nervous system, right?
yes.
Because so if my clients, my coaches are supporting your clients potentially, right? And working with your clients and your, these wedding pros are, we don't realize, because so much of us live in such a state of stress so often, I think we don't really realize how ineffective it makes us. Especially, and I'm guessing some of your listeners relate to this, especially when some of us, and I include myself in this, can seem to have some pretty good skills at doing a lot of great things even when under stress.
Oh, that's the whole job.
Yes. However, this is what I'm going to just throw out there. The master coach training that I offer, I teach a lot of those, but I also bring in experts on different topics. So we had this woman named Leah Davidson. She's phenomenal with the nervous system and she teaches it in my program. Okay. So I
Wow.
asked her a question one day, and because we were talking about that when, if you're in fight or flight, like these high stress responses, you lose access to your prefrontal cortex, right? Which is where planning and reasoning and all of these things. And I asked her, I said, it almost sounds a little extreme, like you're either stressed and have no access or you're totally relaxed and have full access. And so I wanted her to speak to that in between space. But this is actually what she said. She
Uh-oh.
said, we underestimate how much access we lose to our prefrontal cortex. And it really like hit me that week because I think that there's been a part of me that I just, here's what I'll say. It really hit me. And in relation to your listeners, I think that there is a lot of value in you ensuring that even under these stressful situations, that you are really attending to calming your system. Anything
Yeah.
to regulate your system, right? There's tapping, there's breathing, there's meditation, and especially if you're someone that says, "Well, I can work under stress and I can relax later." This is going to be a huge red flag. The more you can take just those moments to work on a little bit of regulation of your nervous system, you will be way better at what you do. Way
Yeah.
better.
Last season, was it last season? I don't remember when, but this is where my stress comes in. I'm like, I have no idea what day it is.
Yeah.
Um, I have a membership for Wedding Pros.
Mhm.
That's like a self-development membership, and we kind of work on these things in like little bite-sized pieces.
Mhm.
And I released as a freebie, in fact, I'll link to it in the show notes, this meditation for wedding days specifically, meant to
Mm.
do in your car before you walk into the venue in the morning, so you can get yourself all together before you have to go, slay the dragon, which is a wedding day. And I realized, and this whole thing started, Molly, because I was doing it myself. Like, I was sitting in my car before a wedding day without my team, without my staff, just like by myself getting, and I was like, oh, I wonder how many people are doing this or not doing it. It takes 5 minutes. I think we also, as just creatives and especially wedding pros, we really overestimate how long we need to do these little things for ourselves. Like, this is commonly what I hear, like, well, I don't have time. Like, you don't have 5 minutes sitting in the car. You could make 5 minutes happen. You can make 5 minutes to journal. Just
Not
stop TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention that what we don't realize is taking that 5 minutes is gonna save you a lot of time in mistakes, right? It's like that idea of you have to slow down to go fast. Slow is
Yes.
smooth and smooth is fast. So slow down, take the
Yes.
5 minutes to do that meditation, right? And then you're gonna be more clear and you're just gonna be more effective. It's like it's really hard to get that in our brains that that's actually true, but it is.
I know. I know it's the hardest thing to change a habit, right? To change, especially on like on an event day when I know so many of us have like superstitious habits. I know I do. Same Starbucks order, same breakfast, same outfit, same shoes. Like it's kind of like I mean, I cannot believe I'm making a sports reference, but it's kind of like what I imagine like a pro athlete does, right? Like they have the way they do approach something, and that's kind of how we walk into wedding day. Like it's the same
Yeah.
everything. I just kind of I want them to add this one little piece in it. Anyway, I want to talk about confidence. I want to talk about confidence because I think we all have a lot of ideas about like confidence and who has it and who doesn't, and how it's either what I've at least heard from folks is that it's either like you're born with it or you're not. And so I'm
Mm.
curious to know your take on that.
Oh, I don't believe that at all.
Me, me either.
You know
Me either,
what's
girl.
so funny about this? Like, I've heard frequently over the last couple of years from people working with me that, like, someone said to me once, "You don't seem like you're afraid of anything." And I was like, "I'm afraid of everything."
I said you probably just do it scared.
Yeah, it's like this. I mean, I think part of it is I've learned how to address the insecurities and the fears as they come up. It doesn't mean they don't come up anymore, right? But it does build over time. And so
Right.
here's my opinion. Like confidence is something that we can cultivate. And oftentimes we are comparing someone else's external results or what we see tangibly in them with our
Yeah.
internal experience.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can see you and I can think, oh my gosh, Renee, she's always got it together. She has this great podcast. She's so organized. She's so articulate. And meanwhile, what am I feeling? Well, we all feel things like, oh, I feel uncertain. I feel insecure. So we're
Right.
comparing this exterior point of view with our internal experience, which is just a very skewed experience. And
Yeah.
so anyone who's wanting to build more confidence, I assure you, the more you take supportive steps for yourself in terms of your own self-care, supportive steps in your business, the more you do that, you basically cultivate a relationship with yourself that says, "Hey, you," like for me, "Hey, Molly, I care about you and your well being." And the more we can do that, the more we create and we cultivate confidence in ourselves and what we do.
Yeah. Do you think confidence shifts for women as they enter midlife?
I mean, I think so. I for sure feel that way. I
Yeah.
mean, I just feel like it's so funny, right? Because if we were to look at ourselves physically, when you're younger, it's like you have you could be someone could say that you have a less flawed body, whatever that means, right? Fewer
Sure.
wrinkles, smoother skin, whatever. I'm like, I don't think so. I have so much more confidence. I feel
Yeah.
so good about who I am, and way stronger than I felt then. So I don't know if it's like the internal work or midlife or whatever, but whatever it is, I'm happy with it.
No, I listen, I agree. I'm 47 and I'm way more confident now than I was when I was younger just because I know more now and I don't take any shit now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I will say this, I have a little anecdote about this. I don't think I've ever even verbalized this out loud, but when I was in my 20s, I was an actor and I in my late 20s worked at a casting agency here in Los Angeles where I live. And so I was a person in the room. I was the in-room monitor for these auditions and we were like a beauty casting. So we did a lot of models, right?
Mhm.
And I would sit there day after day and watch absolutely perfect people walk in the room all day, right? And I'm
Mhm.
just me, right? And that probably made me feel a certain way in my 20s. But I do remember when we would do like middle-aged women or older women
Yeah.
casting.
Yeah.
These women would walk in the room, Molly, and it was a totally different vibe. And
Yeah.
I never liked those days because whether it was society back then or that these women as actors and models knowing that they were judged on how they look, they would walk in and it would be a bundle of nerves, right? They'd be like, did I do okay? Should I do it again? Do you need me to do it again? How am
Mhm.
I standing? Okay, can you see my double? It was just constant. It just felt like anxiety, right? And I'm
Mm.
26 years old and I'm like, you're good, you're fine, you're literally gorgeous, right?
Mhm.
And that's this like basket of nerves. And I remember thinking to myself back then, when I'm their age, I don't want to do that to myself.
Mhm.
Don't want that for myself. This feels like a bad way to exist. And I can tell you
Yeah.
now that I'm probably their age, right? Um, I think it is interesting to watch yourself change, like to see yourself change in the mirror. Yet I feel like I've got it. I just know myself more now, and
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more at home with the things about me that I don't like, trying to change them if I can. But like,
Mhm.
I don't really have. I don't think I feel the need anymore to be so externally validated as I think those women did in my experience. And
Mhm.
I don't know if that relates anything, if you can relate to that at all, but it was such a young person, it was such an interesting thing to see these women 20 years older than me and I feeling like I wish they had more confidence. And now being
Yes.
that age, being like, oh, I get it. I do have more confidence now, you
I
know?
think there's such a powerful, attractive energy about a woman who knows who she is. And I think, and it's interesting, like at this age, because I'm 44 and I'm dating, right? And it's like it's so interesting to actually experience. I think men are very attracted to someone who is confident and comfortable in who she is. And that's really what it is. It really is.
I think the whole world is attracted to
I
that.
agree. I
Like,
agree.
screw men. I mean, no offense to men. I love you men. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Yes,
everyone, I think we're more attracted to those people to work with them, um, I mean, listen, to trust them in order to work with them,
totally.
right? To
Totally.
want to go lunch with them, right? It's so much, it's very relaxing to be in the presence of someone who knows themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah,
it's the best, right? To just feel like, you know what? This is me. I know who I am. I know what I have to offer. I know I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I also think that there's probably something in this conversation that we're not talking about like social media and filters and all that stuff,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah.
that could be a different. I don't mind a filter, honestly. If it's for my like as far as confidence goes, if I'm gonna feel more confident sticking a little filter on me and getting and just being visible, I'm gonna do it
Mhm.
because if I wait until I look perfect, feel perfect, have the perfect, it's never gonna get done.
Mhm.
So if I have something to say, I'm just gonna throw the filter on and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's at least where I'm coming from with it. I want to talk about before we run out of time. I want to talk about your book, The Happy Mom Mindset. As my listeners know, I am not a mom, so every time I have a mom on, I'm like, "Tell me all your mom secrets," because I know that listeners are moms and they want to know what is the
Yeah.
Happy Mom Mindset about.
Okay. So the happy mom mindset is I like in the beginning there's like a love letter to you as a mom because what I want every woman to know who is in the in the depths of motherhood or whatever, it's
Yeah,
like we all think we don't want more parenting advice, but we do, right? We think we need more parenting advice. We think we need to fix ourselves, all this stuff.
right.
And I don't think most of you need any more parenting advice. I think mostly what all of you need truly is to feel empowered and to know that you really are the perfect mom for your kids, even when it doesn't feel like it. So, the happy mom mindset, it was actually, I wrote it when I first started my business. It's been almost a decade ago. And when I was really just working with moms, now I work with coaches on their skills, but at the time I was working with moms solely. And the book is really about helping you to, stop taking more on than is necessary, to really, hone in on those things that are most important to you personally as a mom. And it's also going to help you really kind of untangle your happiness or success from your kids, because we can get very caught up in, if my kids are happy and they're successful, then I can be okay. But in truth, like, our kids they're individuals, right? And
Yeah.
so the more you can be grounded in who you are, you can be a better parent, you can feel more at peace. And then I think we foster this beautiful independence in our kids where they can actually be stronger than if we're all, entangled with their emotions and success.
Right, if it's all enmeshed
Yeah.
together, yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm gonna link, in the show notes to the book, so anyone who wants to check it out. Tell me about the Master Coach certification for any coaches who might be
Oh
listening.
my gosh. I'm so obsessed with it. I really am. It's like whenever I talk about it, I get teary half the time when I'm like on a consultation with someone. So, so since starting my business, I started my own coaching business, and then I also was working with coaches on their skills, like even right from the beginning. And I created curriculums. Well, now what I have is, it's a holistic master coach training and certification. So it's
Lovely.
an opportunity for coaches to become truly effective with their clients, to be safe and ethical. When, as coaches, we are dealing with people's emotions, with their internal worlds. And
Yeah,
so this training is about equipping you as a coach to first and foremost apply everything to you, so you can have that sense of confidence and knowing who you are and what you want in your life. And then also, we focus on advanced mindset, advanced emotion focused modalities, the nervous system, grief, trauma informed training. And so it's just very comprehensive. And what I really love about it, this is my favorite thing. Like, yes, it's going to equip coaches to be great at what they do. I believe when you give your clients results, you get referrals
mhm,
immediately, and that's amazing for business. And this is my favorite part about it. At a personal level, this training really is an opportunity for my clients to know themselves and connect with themselves and truly create an authentic life and
mhm.
help others do the same. That's what
I
it's
love
about. So,
I said I can see why you get emotional about it.
oh my gosh, it's everything. And I love and adore my clients. And I love that as time goes on, they love and adore themselves more and more as they do the work.
Come on,
Right?
that's
I
I
know. So,
love it. And you know what? I'm glad that you talked about the coaching certification, because a little bit of one of my soapbox issues lately has been in the wedding industry. There are a lot of educators calling themselves coaches that have no coach training. And
mm,
I, as a certified co-active life coach, I really wish more educators slash coaches would get sort of certified, would get some training, because I what you said is so key. You learn about yourself so much through any sort of coach training, and therefore you can be of better service to your clients, and you're not just telling them to do things the way you've done them.
yes, that's right. Well, and even, because for, your listeners who are in the wedding industry, I mean, you want to talk about a situation where coaching would be helpful, right? And understanding the nervous system and understanding how to address the emotions that are coming up with your client, the mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
having that comprehensive view. I mean, I think you want to talk about a skill set that's going to make you stand out and
Yes.
have a successful business. So, to be honest, I think they should all come and do the master coach
Everyone
training.
should go.
But
Everyone should do it. Real quick, I want to ask about your habits, because I'm obsessed with other entrepreneurs' habits. Do you have a morning routine? Do you journal? What's
yes.
your day look like?
So I get up at the same time every single day or earlier. I get up at 5:30 every day. Keeping my body in rhythm is everything for me. If I get off rhythm, I'm just kind of a disaster. So my sleep is key. I get up
Yeah.
early. I exercise early, and sometimes like I'll alternate. Sometimes I actually work early. So a habit that for me is really effective is getting up and going right to my desk because I just have a lot of focus. I'm able to accomplish a lot. So those are kind of some of my key habits there. I have a major journaling session every Sunday where I go to like a trail or the beach nearby, like a lake beach. And I just feel like, and I journal other times throughout the week, but having that one set time where I just get away from it all, it's almost like my mind knows that day is coming.
Yeah.
And so it's just very open to putting everything out on paper. So,
Love
I
that.
mean, I could go into more, but I would say those are kind of some of my favorite, key
Yeah.
habits that really work for me.
No, I love that. I haven't heard of the once a week sort of major journaling session, but I love it.
And
I feel
that's
like any way you can get it done is the way to get it done,
I
you know?
agree, I agree, and that's what I was just gonna say, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself for that journaling session. It's not like, well, it has to be this or it has to be that. It's
Right.
something that feels nourishing to me. It's like I go somewhere that I love, and I just am able to, like, be with myself and nature, and so, yes, if journaling feels like a stressful thing, then you've gotta figure out a way to make it feel nourishing and supportive instead.
Yeah, I was just thinking is one of the things I did when I wanted to like restart my journaling practice years ago was I just carried it around with me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
moved it from purse to purse, from tote bag to tote bag. Even if I didn't assume that I would use it that day, I had it with me. And more times than not, I'd be like, well, let me just jot this, let me just jot a little down. And like, you got to get it done any way you can.
yep.
Again, journaling is everything. My final question for you. What advice would you give to midlife women who are considering making any kind of change in their lives, whether it's, a new business or a new passion? What's your advice?
Mhm. So if you're considering making a change, I would say be very clear on why you want to make that change, kind of like the core reason behind it. And as you go toward making that change, commit to that staying front and center because we can get very confused. We decide we want to change something, and then I kind of spoke to this earlier. It's like we start going after a different version of that goal that's actually someone else's goal or business. And
Yeah.
so be very clear on why you want it. And the second thing is just give yourself permission to figure it out as you go. It's never going to look like smooth or easy or clean when you make a transition. It's going to be messy, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I'd say, especially if you're starting a new business when you've already had one, it's not going to look like the first time you did it.
No. No.
Everything's different. The
Yes.
world is different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
100%. Molly, you were a gem and a delight. I loved talking with you. Thank
Fun.
you so much for being here. Um, where can people find you out on the World Wide Web?
Yeah, you can just Molly Claire Coaching. You can find me on Instagram. You can go to mollyclaire.com. I have like a couple free trainings there. You can definitely look into Master Coach training that I offer. The other thing I have is it's called Create Your Killer Program, and it's actually designed for coaches and consultants to kind of package their program and offer, but certainly relevant to your audience. So those are a few things. Oh, and the Masterful Coach podcast. I have a podcast. And
Yay!
so, yes, it is a place for you to learn about coaching skill mastery, building your business, all the things.
We will link to all of those things in the show notes, guys, so you can go find Molly and connect with her there. Thanks so much for being here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Thanks, listeners, for spending your time with us, and we will see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.